What's going on, guys? This is part 2 of my cinematographer series, and I've realized in all my videos this makes so much noise. I'm gonna try to make a concerted effort to not put my arm on my desk and just hold myself like a weirdo. But today I want to talk about lighting, and I want to talk about some basic principles for lighting that will help you as a cinematographer. So today with lighting, I'm talking about shooting with soft light. And why do you want soft light? Well, you don't always want soft light. Again, these are just principles, but soft light is more complementary. It allows for a wrap of light around your subject. And when you have wrap lighting, you're gonna have more of a gradient of where the light goes from bright to shadow, and it's gonna make your person look more dimensional and more interesting. And as you as a cinematographer, you're usually trying to express depth and make your image more interesting, and more contrast and more depth makes an image more fascinating to look at. So the police are out right now. I'm gonna let this siren go by. Bless you. The police are gone. Also, just before I get into the video, I wanna remind you that we have the Vinta backpack giveaway. This will be the last video that you can enter in on it. The instructions are all below in the description. Make sure to enter into that. I love this backpack. I'll even show you right here. It's right here. I use it every day. I absolutely love this bag. I believe in it. And also too, if you like the music on this video, I got it from Music Bed. We got some trial stuff below. Check it out. And let's get back to this tutorial. Simply put, our eyes love depth. And so the more depth you can create, the better it is for your cinematography. So how do you get soft light? How do you create soft light? Well, there's a few ways. For one, the number one tip is make your lights bigger. Get the biggest light you can. The bigger the light source, the softer it'll be. So windows are a great option for this. They're immediately a big light source. Or what you can do too is take a bright light and punch it through a big amount of diffusion. And diffusion can be anything from actual diffusion paper like Opal or any other diffusion gels that you can get. Or it can even be something as cheap as a shower curtain or just a bed sheet. If you have a bright light and you can punch it through a big source, this will make your light softer. On some of the bigger film sets that I've worked on, we'll have lights that are shooting through a 12 by 12, a 24 by 24 foot grid, just giant soft lights. But what it does is it creates this beautiful soft wrap light. It's actually why I use this giant monitor here for my lighting, because it's soft, it's giant. It's immediately gonna be creating very nice soft lighting on me. Let me just plug my monitor back in and see if I've aligned myself. There we go. These are the issues of shooting with Sony cameras. You don't have a flip LCD, and all the Canon people cheered. But as I was saying, you wanna shoot through large, soft light sources. So get yourself some diffusion, get yourself a grid. There's collapsible gel holders where you can put gel diffusion on them. Sometimes you can even get wax paper out of your kitchen and put that on a frame. But the bigger you can make your light source, the softer it inherently will be, because it is covering a larger amount of space on your subject. Another way to make your light softer is simply by bringing your subject closer to the light. The closer you are to the light, the softer it will be. Now, the brighter it will be, so you'll have to adjust your exposure. But the closer you get to a light, well, this is really bright, but you can see how much softer it is, where if I'm over here, it's just one level of light. There's not much wrap. But if you can get your subject closer to a big light source, you'll have very beautiful light that will softly wrap around your character and have a beautiful shadow fall off. And one of the reasons too why you want to use soft light is it makes people look better. It doesn't show their wrinkles or the creases as harsh light will. And there was actually in Hollywood back in the day, some women would only be lit by certain lights and only be shot with certain lenses because they knew it would make them look better. It was actually in their contracts. So for you as a cinematographer, get big light sources, push them through lots of big diffusion. And I should probably actually do a video just about how to do diffusion. But again, that's why I love Windows, because it's immediately soft diffusion. And now there's some great lights that are already pretty soft. One of my favorite lights to use is the Light Matte S4 light. I rent this light all the time. I haven't bought it because it's like $4,000, but it's an awesome light. It's super soft. I always rent it on every project I'm on. But another light that I have that is much more affordable is actually the Falcon Eyes. Remember that little light that I did in that one video? This is this big brother. Let me just move the camera here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So This light packs up into this little pelican here, and this might seem really big in the video, but considering how soft this light is, this is actually not that big of a case. I actually will put this in my bigger luggage when I travel, which is super awesome that I can travel with a soft light like this. And as you can see, it's a pretty big source. Now, there is lights that are bigger that they sell, but this one is great for traveling because I can just roll this up and put it in my bag. You see, it's not even that big. Comes with diffusion, so you can just Velcro that to the front of the light. And I genuinely love this light. I use it all the time when I'm traveling. We just did this one documentary where they had 10 film crews around Canada on the same day. And I brought this light and I used it on set to light all our interviews. It's great because you can bring it in real close. It's super light. You can plug it into any wall. And what's great is it's fully programmable. I can do any light source, any light color. I can even make it look like it's a police light or thunder and lightning. It does everything that the little Falconized lights does. And it's a fraction of the price of some of the more expensive lights in this category. Now, my biggest complaint with it is that the case it came in it's hard and it works, but the way they pack it made the light look so cheap that I almost didn't want to use it. It just looked like it was, I don't know, out of like a dollar store. But once I actually got the light out of the case and started seeing how well built it was and how well it was thought through and it had a remote, I actually really began falling in love with this. And I love filming with this light because just having it on the remote, I can pop it out and dial in the colors. It's great. And I highly recommend getting a light like this that's soft, not just the 1x1 light panels that are hard. What's great with these lights is you can fit them in so many places and they pack up smaller. Think about a LED panel that would be hard plastic this big. It wouldn't pack into a case that's like this big. That's why I love these ones that roll up, that are nice and flat, where the 1x1 panels are really big and you have to actually like pack them up into a bigger case. Now, there's a time and a place for the bigger LED panels, but I love these light matte style lights, and this, I'll put a link below to it. It's a great light. Another tip is don't let your light spill. And what I mean by that is often when you're using a soft light like this one, it wants to spill. Fighting a light here. It wants to spill everywhere because it's soft, and soft light sources spill everywhere. They emanate, they illuminate, they emanate out and they go everywhere. So you want to control that, because typically as a cinematographer, you're trying to make the subject, the person, me, if I'm in this scene, the brightest thing in the scene so that your eyes are drawn to me. But what happens when you turn on a light is it spills everywhere. It wants to go everywhere. So you need to control that. And what blows my mind is how many cinematographers don't rent flags or don't own flags or don't use grids. This is a grid. What a grid does is it controls the light of where it's going. Kind of stops it from spilling everywhere because it has to travel through the grid. So get a grid on your light if you find it spilling everywhere, because when you can control where the light is, when you can get it off the walls and the ceiling around your person, then they will be the brightest thing. But if you just let your light spill everywhere and hit the background and hit the ceiling and hit everywhere, then your whole room suddenly becomes the same level of lighting, and no longer is your person the brightest thing, and it becomes a lot more boring of a shot because everything looks the same. You want variance, you want different layers and brightness levels of your light. So control your light. And this is where flags too come in handy, because you can take the light and you can move it off certain things that it's spilling onto. I almost always put a grid in my lights so that wherever I'm pointing it to, I know it's going in that direction and it's not just going everywhere. And my last point is don't be afraid to use powerful lights, like really bright lights. When I first started out doing cinematography, I would tend to use smaller lights because, for one, it's all I could afford, and two, I was afraid to use really bright lights because I just didn't think I knew how to control them. But when I started realizing that I could flag off these bright lights and I could control the direction of them, I got more comfortable with them. And a great thing about using really bright lights is you can recreate the idea of sunlight coming through windows or coming into a room. And this is important because sometimes, well, actually all the time, you can't choose where the sun is gonna be. You can choose the time of day you shoot, and that'll help you determine where the sun is gonna go, but you can't control where the sunlight is gonna be. So having a giant light to recreate sunlight helps. So for example, this shot here in this new short film I'm shooting, we were able to recreate the sunlight coming through the window with an ARRI L10C light, which is a really bright light. And all we did was put it on the porch there and just put it just to the side, and it looks like sunlight is coming through the window. And this makes the room much more interesting. It's high contrast, it's really dynamic. This light's coming through, it's hitting the back of our subject's face. It makes the room look more interesting than had it been if we just had that light off and there was just ambient light coming through the door. And also to this scene, we had to shoot at 5 p.m. at night. In the winter in Toronto, that's like pitch black, but we needed it to look like 7:30 in the morning when the sunlight's coming up. So using big bright lights and punching them through windows will help you illuminate a room, and you'll be able to actually change the dynamic of the room a lot more than just lighting everything from the inside. So use bright lights and shoot them through windows. So I hope these tips help. Just to reiterate them, again, you want to use soft lighting, a bigger light source going through diffusion, and having your subject closer to it as it is able to within the space that you're shooting. Get them nice and close to that, and the light will be nice and soft like it is on my face right now. Secondly, you want to make sure that you're cutting the light, that you're controlling it. You're not just letting the light spill everywhere, that you're using things like the grid here. And this grid came with my falconized light, which was a great addition for it so that I can control it, not just spilling everything. And lastly, learn to use really bright lights. When you can, rent large lights and punch them through windows, and you'll be able to create sunlight wherever direction you want it to be. So I hope these tips help, guys. Let me know if there's any more cinematographer things you want me to be covering. I'm gonna be talking a bit more about theory. I probably will talk a bit about lens choices coming up. I'm doing this cinematographer series because I want to clarify my tips and tricks that I use on set to help you guys shoot better, and not just telling you to shoot 24p or buy my latest LUTs. I don't even sell LUTs. If you want me to sell LUTs, I can. But I find it funny that that's all people talk about with their cinematography on some of their channels, when there is so many more tips that you can be using to improve your cinematography. But until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Talk soon. Talk soon, I'll see you soon. Yeah, that's better.